Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Cognitive Vigilance Podcast. We are here with Rin, Kyle, and Phil Labonte.
Hello.
Phil Labonte, I know you're a musician. Give us kind of like a
I am.
little synopsis on who you are.
I'm the vocalist for a band called All That Remains. We've been around for going on 25 years now. It's been my job for a while, so I'm very fortunate in that I've been able to make a career out of this. Prior to the internet and stuff, we kind of had well, not prior to the internet, but prior to the prevalence of streaming and stuff like that, we kind of got our stuff together a little bit before that, and we've managed to navigate the whole change of the music industry. So we're super fortunate for the fans that have stuck around through all those weird things. Yeah, and that's the the synopsis of it. I'm a fairly active social commenter. I do some time on Tim Pool's podcast, IRL, a couple times a week, and I do the PCC, which is the pop culture podcast, as well, once a week. So
You play video games too, don't you?
I do play some video games, never professionally, but I mostly just get mad and yell at the TV.
What do you play?
What do you like to jam?
I've been playing a lot of Destiny recently. Destiny 2. I go back and forth.
Yeah,
with
Destiny's fun.
You know what?
I like Destiny.
I played the original Destiny, and I remember they had like this very, very hollow sounding voice for the first one. I'm like, I can't get into this game at all. But like,
Okay,
the story,
autism.
yeah. Well, like the game, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but whatever I'm doing, I'm enjoying doing it. That was pretty much my synopsis of it.
That was the dwarf from Game of Thrones.
Well, they changed the voice and then they made it a little bit different, and I like that one more. But I just remember playing that game like I have no idea what I'm doing, but I just know what I'm doing right now is fun.
It was
so
fun.
I'll keep doing it.
It's a fun game. It's changed since Destiny 1. I didn't play Destiny 1, but the people that play say that it's different now and it's more complex because like the armor has like different attributes and you can min max and stuff. Like it's like everything's got roles and stuff. So there's more MMO in it, but it still still feels like a first person shooter, which is kind of my jam. Like I got into playing video games playing Halo, like Halo 1 and Halo 2.
God. You remember the Halo 2 back in the day?
Oh yeah. That was the first thing
That's the jam.
Yeah, as soon as like Xbox Online, became a thing and you could play on, at home over the internet and it was fast enough where you could reliably play, it was done. I was done. Back in the days when the lobbies were real brutal and stuff,
Oh yeah.
I remember lugging the fucking Xbox in the backpack over to people's houses to get the 16-person
the LAN parties,
Jesus
man.
Oh yeah,
LAN parties.
Oh yeah, we used to do that all the time. You'd hear people coming downstairs with a controller to beat each other's asses.
So when I like the first,
Yeah, that's what we do.
the first
I have
time
so many
was
fond
ever
memories of
playing-
those LAN parties. They were
Oh,
great.
they're great.
Yeah.
The first time I ever played like online video games, it wasn't really even online. This is way back in the mid 90s, right? And it was at
Windows 94 or something.
yeah, basically it was on. They were on. It was Quake on PC, and it wasn't even at someone's house. It was at the Worldwide Cafe, which is this cafe in the mall that had a T1 connection, so it was super fast, and you could play video games on there. And like all the people that worked in the mall, like after the mall closed, we would all kind of meet up down there, and we'd play after hours. So that was a ton of fun playing like LAN party in the mall with a bunch of people you'd work with. And this is like my college age years. I was like 21, 22, so it was that typical kind of college BS.
So, what's your are you single? Are you like dating? So, how do you feel about like the current dating culture?
Well, I don't do a lot of I don't do casual dating kind of thing. Like I don't go out, I don't go on a lot of dates. Like I'm
You don't pick up biddies at the bar?
No, I definitely not.
He only picks them up at his shows.
Oh yeah, groupies.
That's a totally different thing. That's not that's a different animal.
I mean, you know much better than me because I mean, I play in a local band and we've opened for like Lita Ford and shit like that.
Sure.
And listen, I'll be 30 this coming year. I just turned 29, and like the eyes I get from cougars, my dad and everybody notices all the time. They're like, "Oh man, you know, they're all into you," but I'm like, "Look, dude, I'm married. Like, not my deal."
So we're in a weird. All that remains is in a spot where like we'll get like middle-aged moms and stuff, and I mean, I say that, but
Nice.
I'm middle-aged, you know. I mean,
They're not listening to the Fall of Ideals, though.
I'm well into, well, they come thinking that what if I was nothing and the thunder rolls is what they're gonna hear.
Yeah.
And then we open with something, you know, that's a little more, you know, middle of the road. All that remains, and they're kind of like, oh, did I come to the right place, you know? So it's funny, you know, but we do, you know, we've been around long enough where we've got, you know, fans of kind of all ages, because, you know, it's the fucking 6 on Guitar Hero was, Jesus, that's
dude, I will never forget,
you know, like almost 20
never
years
forget
ago.
playing that. Yep.
Do you have like an age preference? Because this actually goes into one of our topics, age gap. So like, what's like your age like preference for
me to date?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, a grown up.
What's a grown up, dude? Like that's subjective, isn't it?
No, not to anyone
over 18.
Does the cerebellum have to be developed, or are you a little flexible there? Okay, so 25
has to be. So I was married from when I was 30. When did we?
Or prefrontal cortex. Sorry.
From 2012 until 2017, I was married. So, and we were together from like 2008. So like that was like kind of the end of my dating was in like 2010-ish, right? Like 2011 or something like that.
And how old were you when you got married?
Well, I'm 48 now. Like 2010, I was 35.
Okay.
So
how old was she?
She was in 2010. She was like 24.
Okay.
Something like that, I think. And I could be screwing this all up totally, but
there is a statistic that says that if you get married before the age of 25, you have a over 50% likely chance of getting divorced within 10 years.
They're all going to crash and burn eventually.
56% of them do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you have a style that you like? Do you like go into dating with any sort of like? Are you actively open to like connecting with people, or is it like when it happens, it'll happen kind of thing?
So I'm not really kind of the dude that goes out looking. Like so dudes that like enjoy like going out and meeting people and chasing women and stuff, like I've never been, like that's never been something that I've enjoyed doing. For me, it's like, so I was talking to, you guys know Clint from Liberty Lock Pod?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was talking to him and he's like, yeah, man, I dig going out and meeting chicks and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not an extroverted person at all. Like I'm a very introverted person. And so I'm just like, yeah, I'm not into like the chase. Like some dudes are like, they're into the whole, like meeting girls and kind of getting, you know, and convincing them to get them, you know, getting the number and blah, blah, blah. And I'm so not into that. So, you know, I'm looking for a monogamous relationship kind of right off the bat, you know, if I'm looking to meet someone.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you as a singer are an introverted person, because I mean you're the center of attention.
Yeah.
So like you would think that you'd be pretty extroverted. Rollo dropped in the chat. Kyle, ask Phil if he's down to do some music with us. Phil, would you sing? Would you sing on an Atomic Crown track?
We are 15 minutes in, and I'm already getting put to work.
I know, Jesus.
Listen, that wasn't me.
Hey, you want to?
I was gonna wait till after. Yeah,
sure,
I was gonna wait
to sing on my record.
I was gonna wait till after to ask if you would sing on a Common Crown song, but Rollo dropped in the chat and asked first. So you know what? I gotta oblige.
I'm making no commitments to anything.
Fair enough, understandable.
So
1 second. All right. So actually, Rollo, this is your boy.
Ryan, is that Ryan?
Wait.
No, it's Mike Sartain.
Mike Sartain.
I can't read it. It's really small.
He's. Oh, sorry.
Hide your DMs.
No, it's not. It's not your fault. I'm only on a laptop. I'm not at my
I can
house with my
like
computer.
zoom in. That might help.
You're fine. You're
but
fine.
He just said, "Would you date a 45-year-old man?" All right. There's a few videos I'm gonna show, because one is like, this is obviously pro. I think Mike Sartain's dating what, like a 22-year-old?
So yeah,
Or-
Mike is 46 and his girlfriend's 21, I think.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Hey, they're happy and they're making it work.
I know. Hey, I'm
the
not
way
going to
God
judge. I
intended,
actually
Brandy.
don't judge. I don't judge age gaps. I'm like open-minded to this. I don't think that it works for most people though. It's like one of those things. It's like polyamory I think can work for some people, but I don't think it works for
Sure.
the majority of people, and I feel the same
Yeah.
way about
I mean,
extreme age gaps like this. Like it
it's a
can't be
huge
promoted
dialogue.
as like this is for everyone.
Yeah.
It's a huge dialogue in the poly communities right now too. Because
Okay. Rolla just said Mike's 46. Kylie just turned 22.
Okay. Oh, look, she's getting older. Okay.
You said you would date a guy 10 years older. How much older would you go?
I'm 25.
Okay, would
So I
you go
dated-
45?
Yeah, I dated someone 45 years
All
old.
right, how'd that go?
It went bad. He didn't have the energy. It's kind of like times when I wanted to go out, he wanted to
He
lay in
needs to
bed.
test
The reason why I think that 38 number, which I think is an accurate number, is going to change is because of peptides and testosterone and things like that, where there's no corollary for women. There's nothing that can do quite the same. I mean, you can attempt it with plastic surgery, but it's not quite the same. I can literally get my testosterone levels to exactly what they were when I was 19.
Yeah.
Giving women testosterone obviously has an opposite effect. I don't feel like I've slowed down at all.
You said you would date a guy.
Okay. So, in my opinion, all right, that's one of them. I'm gonna show another one. I do think this like concept that like, oh well, men can just stop aging and women can't. There is like this whole concept of like twink death, which is very similar to the wall, which is like basically men rad
Twink
femmes.
death?
It's called twink death.
I
So
never
it's-
heard of
it's
this
so
either.
fucking funny, dude. Like people talk about it, like rad femmes talk about it all the time. It's almost like their version of the wall for men, and they'll do like before and afters of like Joe Rogan when he was younger, and then like now, and they're like, it's like, okay, you guys are pretending like you guys get hotter, but like it's just that girls don't care about appearance as much. Is my
Well,
opinion.
I mean,
Because
that's
you can-
right though. That's right
yeah.
though.
It's not like, I don't think that it's like that they get better with age. Or like I think, or like better looking with age. I think it's just women actually like don't care as
does
much.
twink death just mean that they don't have that young, fresh looking?
Yeah,
anymore?
they don't
Oh,
look
okay.
as yeah, it's like the wall for women, but it's just that men care more, I think, about physical appearance than women do. I think that there's
Is the
other
wall
things that women
just-
value.
Is the wall just physical appearance for?
I think so.
Well,
I think
okay,
it's
so, like,
mostly
when it comes
physical
to-
appearance.
like
when
these,
like
these-
red
so like I'm not really in like this kind of these discourses very much. So I've
Sure.
heard like I'm familiar with the terms, like I've heard them, but I don't know like what they mean
Okay.
and stuff. I
Yes.
get the concept of the wall, like hits an age and nobody wants a wall anymore.
So,
I
like,
see people talk about eggs sometimes, and sometimes
Yeah,
the way they look.
The eggs
know,
are rotting.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
or
most-
an empty egg carton kind of bullshit.
most red pill guys would basically chalk up the wall to being a kind of like a mental and a physical thing. So like for women, and not that like this is universally true, but like women realize that they can't compete with their former selves, like their younger selves or the younger women anymore, because they're no longer as attractive as they once used to be. But it's not all looks thing; it's also a psychological thing.
Yeah,
so
but there's a whole market for like
there is. That's why I'm saying it's not universally true, and I agree with that. There are some guys that are looking for older women as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So I guess I might be the representative of the people who still like out dating and meeting. Like I go on probably like, I don't know, like half a dozen or more first dates a month. And
he's polyamorous, by the way.
yeah, so I have an age gap in my own like relationships. I have dating people my own age, and then I date like I'm very open to new people. So I go on a lot of like dates, and there's a lot of. We can talk more about it when we get to it. Let's keep going. But it'll
Okay.
be
All right. So this guy doesn't seem to be as pro.
Should
Age
you
gap?
date someone that's older or younger? I think if it's more than 10 years, like double digits, I think it's too much. I don't know about you guys out there. I'm 45 and I have that much in common with a 21-year-old. I know this because I help my kids school out and I teach finance for high school kids and college kids, and oh my goodness gracious, we are different wavelengths. I'd want to blow my brains out if I had to spend that much time with a 21 or 22-year-old in terms of dating. To actually have deep, meaningful conversation with a 20-year-old, I know when you're 20, you think you know it all, but let me tell you, you do not. And it's not a negative thing. You shouldn't. You're 20. There's so much I don't know at 45 that a 65-year-old knows. My point is age gaps matter more when you're younger, in my opinion. 20 and 30, that's a gap. 20 and 40, that's I'm not going to say insurmountable, but it's a big gap. 50 and 30 is the common one I seem to be seeing, probably because that's similar to my age bracket. I would say if it works for you, great. But Doesn't work for me.
But he's saying that he wouldn't even date a 30-year-old, which I think I'm like, what? Bro,
Yeah,
what?
that seems
That's a little
that's-
ridiculous.
Yeah, 30-year-olds are humans at that point. I don't think I have.
Humans.
If they want to
You don't
date,
They're
become
not.
human.
Yeah, when you're 29, you're not a human.
Well, so
I'm kidding,
I
I'm
do
kidding, I'm
I
kidding.
do think that there's like a real tight curve, right? At like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Each one of those is kind of a distinct entity. And once
Sure.
you're fucking 35, if you're going after 18-year-olds, I'm like, as somebody who also is not super anti-age gap, I just put a lot of asterisks and caveats on there if you're going to do it.
Mhm.
You have to acknowledge that like an 18-year-old's a child, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're a child, will let to go to war and do all these sort of things. But like, you just have to have that discussion where fucking it's like, are you like you have to acknowledge it and then deal with it. You can't just be like, what?
There's no difference. What do you mean? I mean, Ryan. Rin knows that I've had a tendency to date younger women, but like men either my age or older. But for some reason, I do date younger women. I don't know why. Honestly, they hit on me. It's usually in that direction.
Set them up
Because
to
you're a corrector.
I set them up. What do you, dude? He
Phil
was
already
there.
Well, okay,
you.
well, like
Phil already understands you completely.
No,
So-
Rin, you were there. A girl came up to me at a bar. I didn't even know how that she was.
And you took advantage
19.
of her innocence.
Oh my
I
god,
didn't even know.
And-
took her innocence
No.
away.
Yeah,
No,
totally.
she hit
Yeah, how
on
can-
me,
how can
and
you
she
not
was
see
very, very
How
hot.
can you
Well-
sleep at night?
There was that guy was going on about like not having much in common with like an 18-year-old, but like I don't know. My wife's an EMT. I'm an automotive mechanic, and like we're both
We both
blue
work
collar
on
people.
shit.
Sure. Yeah, but like her and I don't have a lot in common outside of that. But I mean, we still absolutely love each other's company, and we enjoy going to the beach together. So like I don't know, like this whole talking point of like, oh, we don't have that much in common. Like no, you could still enjoy doing stuff with somebody else. Maybe you just like the presence of that other person. It doesn't have to be like, oh my god, what are we going to talk about? That's always the criticism. Who
And
cares?
in common, like, I mean, if he's like, what does in common mean? Because
Right.
you can have a ton of stuff in common that when it comes to things that you like about the way that you live and things that you enjoy doing, but not have anything in common when it comes to things that you would like to like talk about deeply, like maybe one's into philosophy and maybe one's not, or maybe one's really extremely interested in some science or something like that, and the other one's not. And like those kind of things being different is totally fine. They're so.
But also, like, if you admire somebody, like, I'm way into nutrition, obviously geopolitics, foreign policy, politics, and stuff like that. My wife doesn't give a shit about it at all. But
That
like,
most women want to kill themselves when they hear about that stuff.
yeah, exactly. But like, I talk to her about it, and she's just like, okay,
True.
yeah. Like, if you like somebody, then you typically like seeing when they're happy, when they're doing things. So if they're explaining something to you, you enjoy seeing that person being happy because you know that they're competent and that they feel confident when they're explaining something to you. Like when my wife talks about her job as an EMT, I enjoy listening to her talk about it because this is something that she enjoys doing the same way I'm sure she probably enjoys me talking about cars and the way that I work on cars, like because we enjoy each other's company.
I think I think like one aspect of this though is like maybe like a 21, at least I know for me, I hadn't fully figured out what I liked yet. Like I did, I was a fucking communist. Okay. I was like, God only knows. Like I was fucking,
Christ.
yeah. My interests have, like I've always been interested in art and like, that's always been a consistent thing. And I've always been like spiritual, like, and that's always been consistent, interested in philosophy, but like things, my interests have developed and like changed over time. I think that maybe that's one reason why guys like women that are younger, because they're maybe a little bit moldable in regards to like changing their opinion, like in regards to like maybe getting interested in what you're interested in. And maybe when someone's 30, they already kind of have their interests developed. But when you date someone at 20, you can kind of be like, here, take some of my interests.
So
Do we want to talk about the implied sort of like manipulative aspect of that, where it's like, I can date a 20-year-old and I can.
That's okay.
No,
So
I mean,
go ahead, Phil.
Go ahead. Well, like, so I've had one serious relationship since I got my divorce, and my divorce was in 2017. And like, she has a life, right? Like, she has a great job. She's an what's it called, an APRN. She's a nurse practitioner. She can prescribe like drugs that only a handful of people in the state can prescribe. She's got family. She's got a whole ass life together, and I have a whole ass life of my own. And when we got together, it was like, we are not combining our lives because you're at a point where you kind of can't. So I get why dudes are like, well, I would like to date a younger woman. So that way, to some people, you might say, oh, it's like trying to shape her or whatever. But it's also like, she doesn't have a life that she's built yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So
like,
she can build her life around yours, kind of
Right.
thing.
Well, okay. So
at the very least, because and hold on one second, I want to say something. Like, sorry to cut you off, but like,
no, it's okay.
Not just about her building her life around yours, so that you can build a life together. Because that's the point of like getting married. It's not. There's so much, like, when it comes to like the red pill stuff that I hear, there's a lot of like, there's a lot of antagonism between the sexes that I hear, at least in the way that it's articulated. Maybe it's not intentional and maybe people don't feel that way, but the way that it's articulated, it sounds like that. And I think that relationships that are looked at as, looking to do something together with, obviously, I think that there's, well, not obviously, but I do think that like a leadership role and a kind of subordinate role is good in most aspects. And I think that those roles can shift depending on the context. And I think that that's good for a relationship too. But like, I think that if you build something together, you're far more likely to have success in your relationship than if you're just getting a girl to like join your stuff and do exactly what you want and like mold her into a thing for your own devices. You know what I mean? So, and maybe I'm misunderstanding what I've heard from the red pill stuff, because like I said, I don't know in depth. I only hear kind of wave top stuff. So
I will say there are plenty of 30-year-old women that don't have lives that could probably like be worked around here. I'm just saying, like,
well, like
have barely any
ideally,
interest.
because even you guys talk about they don't, it's not a good idea to date a woman with someone else's kid and stuff, because it just adds and even if it's like you're gonna take like the normie view and be like, well, it is kind of cool if you're gonna go ahead and kind of take that role and stuff. I get it. But like, even still, it's like, it's a hassle that you have to add to your equation. It's like, if all things being equal, if like I meet two women and they're both great and they're, they both are, we have fun together and stuff, and one has a kid and one doesn't, the one without the kid's probably going to be the one that I'm going to be like, well, just because it's going to be easier to see her. And I mean, I'm kind of on the go a lot anyways, but like, it just makes life easier.
Yeah.
One of my partners has kids, and it is interesting how much, like, I think for them dating in like a non-traditional sense becomes that much easier, because they can they can go date people with like her like main partner is somebody else who also has kids, and that's their like whole thing, and I get to be the fun person who's like, although I hang out with her kids, like I like, I'm chummy with the dad. It's a whole world. So it's a wide world that like kind of breaks a lot of the traditional rules, but
it's kind of fascinating for me, the outside looking at it, because like hearing you say something like that, it's fascinating to me, because like in my world, and once again, we live completely different worlds, but like if my wife said, hey, I'm gonna go fuck some other dude, and while you watch our kids, I'm like, your shit's on the curb. But like, once again, that's just my life. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. It's just like, hearing that, because it's not the normal take. I don't want you to interpret that as I'm busting your balls. It's just like, to me, it's so foreign.
No, I understand. I'm buying them Christmas gifts and shit. It's fun.
All right,
nice.
so
that's cool.
Here's one that's the opposite direction, and I actually
people are very upset about the age gap in our relationship. Like, there's a problem with a 47-year-old woman with a 26-year-old man.
She looks great for 47.
Just because we can't go surfing because of my recent knee replacement surgery doesn't mean that we don't spend nice quality time together.
For instance, she recently taught me her skincare routine, which we now do together, and she credits as her fountain of youth.
And while some people accuse him of being a gold digger for marrying such a wealthy woman, I so appreciate the contributions he makes to our household as a stay-at-home husband.
He's the stay-at-home husband.
And I appreciate her going to work every day so that she could provide this amazing, luxurious lifestyle for us. And even if some of her friends talk behind my back about how immature I seem, I appreciate the fact that she goes to bat for me and defends me.
I'm not saying those ladies talking bad about him are just jealous, but if the shoe fits. So while I school him on 80s rock, he schools me on boy bands.
80s rock has absolutely nothing on One Direction and NSYNC. People are
Oh my
killing.
god.
Kevin. Fucking Kevin.
Oh,
That's
he
a very,
gets
very
pissed.
strange dynamic.
I mean, I thought it was funny. I mean, I wouldn't. It's not something I would think I'd be into. I don't know. I'm not 47, but it is.
Wait, are we shitting on this guy? Because I
I'm
don't
not
understand.
shitting on- I think he kind of he's dating
it
like
seems
this
like he's happy.
wealthy woman and he's a stay-at-home husband. That's like, come on, he has it made. You can't even. People can shit on him all he wants, but like, can you blame the man?
I mean, if that's their connection, that's their fucking connection, man. I mean, it depends on what you want. I mean, if the dude wants to sit at home and, you know, be the house husband, which is strange to me, he's going to do that. And if she's willing to go out and work, I mean, if you don't want to have kids, you know, the likelihood that you guys are going to have kids together when you're 26, she's 47 is like zero. But I mean, if that's what
kids.
right. If that's your thing, okay.
Yeah,
Surrogacy,
I mean, this,
egg,
what are
you know, you got all kinds of
right?
options.
Right? Like,
Don't start.
If they can, don't start what?
No, because Rin said surrogacy, and I'm like, oh god, don't.
Oh.
That's been such a topic on Twitter. I can't right now.
Yeah,
What were you saying, Phil?
I'm not so sure why. I mean, I guess people will talk about anything, you know, but I'm not so sure why people would have such a care about a young guy with an older woman. Like, I can understand the possibility of manipulation or the history of abuse that happens with young women and older men. I get that. That's a thing. So people questioning it, at least I can wrap my head around it. Like a dude that's 27 and a woman that's 47, like, it is not your business. Shut the F up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not, people are saying, is it staged or is it a bit? It is not. He has a YouTube channel, like an entire YouTube channel. It is not staged. This is very real. And that's what he does. He's a stay-at-home husband who just makes content. Like, come on, I want that. Can I do that? Like, he's living my life, bro. I'll date a 47-year-old woman that lets me be a stay-at-home husband.
You're 47?
Well, you probably ain't gonna find a woman, but you could definitely find a dude. He may not be very attractive, but you could probably find a dude that'll do that.
Shut up.
It was on the nose though. I noticed that too. If I didn't know better, if you hadn't said that, I would have thought that they were trying to like parody age gaps in like, you know, older man, younger woman getting shit, and then like, you know, turning like doing the gender flip to try to get like a reaction out of people.
Hey,
It's legit.
Ian Gary, it's 100% right down your alley. Kevin brought that up. I don't know what he's talking about because I'm not familiar with MMA, but it seems like, I'm guessing it probably goes to the theme of age gaps. But yeah, I mean, most of the time you're going to see like an older guy and a younger woman. Like, I'm a year and a half older than my wife, and most of the women that I've dated throughout my life have always been at least a year younger than me. But I think that's just kind of the normal way it is.
Those are the most successful relationships.
Well, yeah. What do girls always say is that, you know, guys my age aren't that mature. So I remember seeing an article forever ago. But
aren't you 29, 30?
Yeah.
Guys my age aren't.
Well, no. I'm speaking. No, hold on. I'm speaking about from women's perspective.
You can
like, women always
my
say
age part out. Like the whole it doesn't matter what age, guys just aren't that mature.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That women say. Women always say like guys my age. Women will always say when they're younger, like guys my age aren't mature, so they look for an older guy.
I'm gonna make fart jokes, and I'm pushing 50.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't blame you.
But Kyle, that can be true from an experience, like an anecdotal sense. Like, oh, okay,
Sure.
The people I'm hanging out with aren't mature, so you go looking somewhere else, and then you find that no one's mature, and then you become jaded. It's just like,
yeah, but I'm just saying that's what women typically say.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, then there's like the discourse in regards to pair bonding. Does anyone know what pair bonding is? Because everyone's like, oh, if you fuck a bunch of dudes, or if like a girl fucks a bunch of dudes, she won't be able to pair bond. I actually don't think that there's any science to back this up. Like, because when does the pair bonding stop though? Wait, hold on. When does the pair bonding is it like after 10? Is it after 20? When is it like, oh, I've lost 10% of my pair bonding abilities because I've had sex with 5 men? Like, it doesn't make sense. And
it's like a hit point bar.
Like,
I love that we gamify everything. Always boil it down to video games.
oh fuck! I lost my pair bonding. My pair bonding bar is going down.
You missed your pair bonding roll.
Like, and then your pair bonding goes like
Saving
up.
throw.
It's like, what do you have to like, oh, I gave someone a hug today. Now I can, because that's what releases oxytocin. Now I can pair bond more. Like,
Oh,
it just
God.
doesn't.
I mean, I don't think it's like fully panned out or like a mechanism is fully panned out, but I mean, you see this repeatedly over and over again in studies where like women who have more partners tend to divorce more. And there's another study done where more recently where once again women who had more partners tended to divorce more. So it's not a solid science, but I mean, you can notice a pattern at large when women have slept with more people, they tend to divorce more. Does that mean that if you have a wife who has 12 partners, is she going to divorce you tomorrow? No, but it's something to kind of keep in mind, but don't live your life by that. It's not gospel, it's just something to pay attention to. And it's not necessarily, let's say, that specific behavior, but it's just that, like, hey, maybe this is part of a cluster of behaviors that make it more likely to be someone that's going to divorce you. Does that make sense?
I have a hypothesis based just on what you said.
Sure.
That if somebody has a higher number of partners that they've slept with or have dated, they have a lower bar for bullshit because they know it's like, oh, I have dated this person who treated me well, and now this person I've been dating for 5 years is fucking tapped out. I'm gonna get divorced. Versus if you've only been with one person, you're like, I guess this is what love is. I'm gonna be miserable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's truth to that. Like, so the reason why virgins like don't leave their husbands more likely is because they don't fucking know any better.
Right. I think
like
that's
they don't
true. I think that
fucking
is
know
true.
any better. That's why.
Right.
And
Like, I
everyone's
think
like,
divorce
yay!
is a good thing if it's a shitty relationship. So, you know, be better in the relationship so that it's not
Well,
shitty.
yeah. I mean, that's the one thing that I think a lot of people, when they talk about this discourse specifically from men's angle, is that, like, you know, when it comes to like having sex in a relationship, like if you as a guy are not fuckable, then you can't complain that your wife doesn't want to fuck you. If nobody else wants to fuck you, why do you think your wife does? Like, the reason why I go work out is because not only do I enjoy it, but also maintains, you know, me looking good as an individual. So, like, you have to maintain your end of the bargain. You have to continue to do what you did originally to to get your wife to maintain a good relationship with your wife or girlfriend or whatever. Like, if you just, you know, sit in the basement, jack off, and eat Cheetos all day, of course no one's going to have sex with you. You're a loser.
But those
You're
are
a
the people that
loser.
are going in that metric of like, oh, my girlfriend has multiple partners and has broken up.
No, I don't think that's entirely true.
Well, you can't spit out a number like that without having that data. You know, it's correlation, not causation. Phil,
No. But, oh, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, Phil, do you have cutoffs if you're potentially dating somebody and they have super high numbers, super low numbers? Is there anything?
I would never ask.
Yeah. I feel like it's like a stupid thing to like talk about. I don't know.
Yeah, I would never be like, how many? I don't know how many any of the girls that I've ever been with ever had.
Yeah.
Like, it never, the whole body count discourse was new to me when it kind of blast onto the internet. It never occurred to me.
The Zoomers are obsessed with it. It definitely wasn't as much of a thing for millennials and like Gen Xers. Like, we just like were like, what?
I know that like there's a whole lot of statistics that get thrown around and people pay a lot of attention to statistics and stuff, but I feel like if you think that you're going to be able to go ahead and select your perfect mate based on statistics and you're going to go ahead and you like use a slide scale to make sure that the person that you find matches all the things and stuff, I think that's probably why there are so many people that are incels, because they're not, you know, getting laid when they can because they're hyper focused. And I'm just talking out of my ass right now. I don't really think that was just BSing. But the thing is, I don't think of that kind of stuff, I guess. You know,
I know incels
kind of to
very
that
well.
point. Yeah. to that point is that basically, like, if body count was the breaking factor, then there were probably a million other things that were already present to you that probably were red flags. Like, the body count isn't going to be the first red flag. If it is the first red flag, you're a retard if that's the only red flag you see.
And body count is only a thing for guys, right? Like, women, that is not supposed to matter to. or something?
Well, because men
some
and women
people,
interpret
it
this
depends.
differently.
It depends on if they're like religious trad men, because they'll say it does matter. But like, so I actually know incels. Like I know people
that are
Why do
involved.
I
I've
know
never met
incels?
an incel in my
Oh,
entire
I
life.
have. Oh, I have.
Oh, they did retweet me.
Multiple actually, but like one in particular, he's obsessed with like having a virgin wife. He's Mormon. Obsessed with having a virgin wife because like all these guys think that like they're
How
gonna find
old
a
is he?
virgin and she's gonna like imprint on them like a baby duck.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like.
he is 25. He's also obsessed with like the concept of getting a sex doll because he's like kind of MGTOW, which is like men going their own way. Yeah, he's like 25, 26. And I think that it's an excuse for their failure with women. I genuinely think that they're making an excuse for why they're like, I won't date a girl with a high body count. And it's when the truth is a girl with a high body count won't date them. Like, I'm just saying.
Well, let's move past high body count. A girl won't date you, period.
Yeah, that's true. Like, and I think like that's what happens is all of these incels, they like create all these barriers to entry for themselves. They make excuses. They're like, I won't date a girl with a high body count or with or a girl that a girl boss like that has like a career, or like they'll make all of these like excuses, and it's like you like literally you should be happy if anyone dates you. Like I'm gonna be honest, like
I mean,
you
that's
should
a
just
bad
be
that's a bad
thrilled.
attitude too.
I know, but like I know these people.
That's fair. I understand.
So I thought this was interesting. A lovely nepo baby, Michaela Peterson, talking about pair bonding.
Have you heard of the vasopressin and oxytocin for bonding, which is really interesting? So vasopressin is released when there's stress, and men tend to bond when that chemical is released.
They're like,
So
my
you-
daughter's
Which,
retarded.
isn't that interesting? So you can stress out a man in a situation, and that'll increase bonding.
Reconciliation.
Bonding, yeah.
It seems to,
But
yeah.
for
Yeah.
women, it's oxytocin that's really involved with bonding. So what you want to do for a woman is make her feel safe.
Yes.
So it's interesting. Isn't that interesting? They did a bunch of studies on voles too, shot them full of oxytocin and vasopressin.
Yeah, she read that study wrong.
But that's so cool. So you can be more neurotic. You can get away with being more neurotic as a woman if you're with a man who's more stable, and potentially, according to voles, that might even increase bonding if the man can take away some of the woman's kind of problems and make her feel calmer.
Yeah,
It's
well, I
not
think
cool.
I don't know if I
highly,
like bowls.
No, it is. It's a study on fucking prairie voles. And I read the study. She read it fucking completely wrong. And I was like, because it talks about oxytocin, dopamine, and vasopressin. And these are chemicals that actually are for both men and women with bonding. Men do bond with vasopressin. Am I saying that right? I hope so. But like they do, it is more so with men, but it's also with women. And I also think that this is why people get trauma bonded to each other. Is like the vasopressin is because it's a stress hormone. But like this concept that like women can get away with being neurotic because men like it when we stress them out. Like I'm like, what? This is horrible
Women
advice.
can get away with being neurotic because they don't come in other flavors.
Damn.
Wait, elaborate on that. I like that thought.
What?
I mean, just women are more neurotic than men. Like there's not like I assume there are women that are, low in neuroticism, but like
Women
not
in general
most.
are they're always going to be more neurotic because once again, historically they had to care for children. So therefore it was more important for them to have reactions and be a little bit more careful about things because, their lives, they were a lot more delicate and they had to take care of the children. Whereas the men had to go out and fight and hunt things. And we're still not, our brains haven't evolved beyond that.
I do know a lot of women who complain about men not being able to so I always think it's a weird
Not
there's
being
a
able
word
to
for
what?
so not being able to find I know women who are looking for uncomplicated easy sexual relationships, and they often find very emotionally clingy men and these sort of things. And I think there's a word for the phenomenon where you always get what you're not looking for. And so, I think there is a selection bias because the people who are really suited to each other just fucking pair up and go off and they don't comment, right? So you get the people who are like, oh, these women are really neurotic. I think I know a lot of fucking neurotic people across the board. I know tons of men who are just constantly fucking flipping out about things and stressing about things.
Come on, Woody Allen. That's like his whole fucking shtick. He's like a
But I mean,
neurotic man.
it's normally anger. It's not like, oh my God, I can't handle. It's not like freaking out. It's anger, right? Or am I wrong?
Sure, but is that are we talking semantics now, right? Like that's you're having people who are
Well,
overly emotional in one regard versus the other.
Sure. Well, men get angry because that's what we know, right? We have the capability to kill things a lot more than women do because we have more testosterone and more strength. Women are more neurotic because they have lower testosterone, and their natural instinct is to protect things that they care about, right? Because they have to care for children, so therefore that's very important to them.
You just have to find the neuroticism that's right for you.
There you go.
There you go.
That's the brand.
Like what's the kind of
Your
neuroticism? What?
Speak to your doctor. Find the
Yeah.
neuroticism.
Exactly. That's the truth though, because it's like I'm I think moderately high, or no, I'm typical in neuroticism. Like average. I have
Can you test that?
average.
Is there a test?
Well,
for that?
yeah, it's the big five. The
Yeah.
Jordan
Oh.
Peterson test. It's like a
Send me a
psychological
link.
test.
I'm
I
fascinated,
will.
though.
You have to
It's
pay
called-
the $9 for the full one though, because
All
that'll
right,
give
I'm
you.
not
It'll
gonna-
breaks it down.
I'm not going to pay the $9.
I think it's called-
$9? How
You
poor
lost
are
me.
you?
I think it's called, the Jordan Peterson Discover Yourself test. I think I rated like the lowest percentile neuroticism.
I don't believe that, but the
I'll
test
send
is
you it.
clearly wrong. No, the text
Yeah.
like that just completely throw it out. Throw it out. No, just kidding.
Phil, do you have an archetype that you like? Like, do you consistently date a similar kind of person and like what their brain looks like, or is it?
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I can't date someone that's dumb.
He cares about intelligence. Everyone says that's not even a thing. That
Well, I
like
mean,
the
I
red
can't-
pills, like you don't like men don't care about intelligence. They care
I
about
can't date
Well,
someone.
because
that
all women
doesn't
are dumb.
understand.
I'm kidding.
Sorry, say that again, Phil. I didn't hear
Sorry.
that.
I can't date someone that can't understand what I'm talking about. So like, not that I'm like the smartest guy in the world or anything, but like if I'm explaining a concept and too frequently it's like blank stare, and it's not like I can't be with someone like that. I need someone that can at least understand what I'm talking to them about. So
Would you enjoy dating somebody who you would perceive as smarter than you?
I wouldn't have a problem with that. Yeah, especially because smart isn't. I would have no problem with someone that knows more than me about a certain topic. Someone that's smarter than you, I feel like
like higher IQ.
Yeah, well,
What if
to
they had a
notice
higher
that to notice that it has to be. You have to be fairly smart to notice that. First of all, second of all, you have to. The person has to be more than just a little smarter than you for those kind of things to show. Because if someone was doing dumb things, like if I'm with someone or dating someone and they keep doing dumb things, where I'm just like, how could you not get that? Then that'll be a deal breaker.
Sure,
right?
that's fair.
But I don't think that like if I was with someone and we could have intelligent conversations and they didn't do dumb things, like how would you know if they were smarter? Unless they were like condescending to you.
I
You know
think
what I mean?
via conversation though, can't you tell like when you're communicating with someone where they meet you, when you're like what you were saying, they don't understand the concepts that you're talking about, or like they can't like grab like that's I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, but I feel like
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like if you're the dumb one, you don't know.
So I guess that's a good point. I have felt that there was.
Like, how do you are you going to be with someone that's going to tell you, listen, I'm the smart one?
I mean, the condescending thing is a thing, like, because if smart people are assholes about it, then they're fucking assholes. Like that. But
when you're a smarter person, it's easier to convince yourself that you're right. Like you can easily convince. You're able to see your own. You're not able to convince yourself out of how smart you are because you're a smarter person. Like you're able to convince yourself of things a lot easier.
But yeah, like I mean, if you're the dumb one, you're gonna realize, and it's not gonna be. If you realize it, it's not gonna be comfortable. If you like, think about it. You're dating someone, you're just like, oh my god, they must think I'm a moron. Because that's what it feels like to be around someone that's significantly smarter than you, or to come to the realization that you're around someone that's significantly smarter than you, and all of the things that come with it, which is they know they're smarter than you and they have for a long time. Like that's stuff that goes with being smarter. So
I mean,
I could date someone that's smarter than me, yeah, but like
if they were kind about it.
Well, I mean, not that they're kind about it. I wonder how you get to a place in a relationship where you've got people that are significantly different in intelligence, unless it's kind of a dude that's just looking for a hot chick.
I don't think
what
the
I mean?
difference can be that significant, I would say. Like,
Yeah,
I
don't
think that
so
if
either.
it's too significant, I think that would be a problem. But like maybe like a few IQ points or something. But like too significant, it will be probably too difficult for them to communicate. But I've actually think that this has been like I've had this struggle. I'm like slightly above average. Like I'm not like a genius. I'm slightly, dude. I'm slightly above average. I'm not. This is not even like a. I wish I was like a 130.
Average woman or average man.
But but I feel like I've had a struggle with relationships or like dating in the past, because like I'd go on dates with guys and I would like be trying to have these like intellectual, deep, cerebral conversations, and they'd be like, couldn't even get there. Like their eyes would glaze over, and I'm like, so what do you do for work?
Or
Like-
what's real bad is like if you meet someone that the stuff just is so beyond them that it doesn't register that it's actually important stuff. Like if you're trying to have a conversation with someone about, whether it be philosophy or politics or whatever, like I get people that are like, look, I don't really care about politics, and that's fine. And most people that are into politics understand that's not a problem. But there are certain political things that affect everybody that every adult kind of would at least figure how it would relate to them. And if they're just like,
yeah.
then that's a deal breaker too,
Where they just like can't even like register what
Yeah,
you're
like it doesn't.
saying, when the
They
importance of
don't
what you're saying.
understand. Like you're telling
Yeah.
them something and they just don't get it. Like it's the.
But I think men, this
you know.
doesn't bother most men as much to like be dating someone. I think this. You guys can tell me if I'm
more
wrong.
comfortable dating somebody perceived to be dumber than them.
Yes, I think that's true.
Well, because how many books you've read and what college course you went to doesn't make my penis hard. Like I'm sorry, that's not like an objective attractive marker for men. No, like it's an added bonus, don't get me wrong, but like no guy walks up to a 3 and then finds out that she's read every single piece of libertarian or whatever literature and then fucking pops a stiffy. Like that
Definitely
does not
not
happen.
libertarian.
Yeah, right.
But it's
no. She would be a libertarian if she's a 3, though. To be fair,
so I know a lot of very intelligent.
Brady, you're a 5 at least. 6
thank
on a
you.
good day. I'm
Thank
kidding.
you.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
I'm in the fields, right? I'm in STEM and things like that. I know a lot of very intelligent women who struggle to date men who aren't also like on that level. Like a lot of the time they're and it's really interesting. There's an intimidation factor that they speak about a lot. And Phil, I love the way you're talking about this. Because it's, to me, it seems like you'd be like, yeah, like you just got to be, kind of deal with the reality of the situation as long as people are pairing off. I think people need to have ownership of something. And I think if a guy is in a relationship where like all of his ideas feel bad because his partner has better ones, that's not tenable. So it needs to be like, especially like aggressively smart people are often bad with people. So then it's like, all right, you're the people person. I'm the fucking taxes and fucking planning and all the other stuff. And that's fine, I think. But I don't know. I don't know how to help
people. You do PR. I'll take care of the backstage work.
Division of labor. It's just funny to me because I don't know how to offer advice to people who, talk about that, where they're like, they're very attractive, very intelligent, and they struggle to date because men just like don't like it.
Or they don't like it, or I think that it makes men insecure when you're smarter than them a lot of the times. Unless a guy finds that attractive, unless they find intelligence like actually an attractive factor.
Especially average guys. Because every guy has, and this is not trying to be like a dig on dudes, but most dudes have a healthy ego, as in they want to feel good about themselves. They don't want to feel like they're being berated. They want to feel respected. And that kind of like, because of the fact that men have to struggle and work so hard to achieve those things, to be respected, like women can just be, men have to do something to be
Become.
worth exactly. Yeah, become. So because it's so much work and it's so hard, like small little that's why dudes like get compliments that like fucking and they remember him and stuff. And I am not like, because of my career, I have not had that experience in life. When you're in a band that's successful, you get compliments pretty regularly.
Oh my God, you're so talented.
Whether it's true or not, that's what you hear it. So,
well, so like men have a narcissism complex and women are solipsistic, right? Where like, so guys work their asses off and they believe because they work their asses off that I don't want to say they're entitled, but they feel like they've earned something, right? Yeah. They've earned respect because they've worked their asses off. Whereas women have they're solipsistic, where basically like their experience is basically what they believe to be everybody's experiences and their perception of the world.
Hilarious.
But it's true. That's the way that women view things. True, but like once again, guys bust their asses and they feel like that, like, what does every guy say? Like, oh, I was so nice to her, so therefore she should jump on top of my dick yesterday. But that's not how it works, because like the equity, the way that people interpret relationship equity is going to be two completely different things. So a red pill concept that Ryan Stone will talk about a lot is like getting rid of the scoreboard. Like just because you did something nice for your wife, or you worked out, or you did all this stuff, doesn't mean that you're entitled to a blowjob from your wife. You need to get rid of that mindset because it's a bad mindset.
Yeah.
Hold on, this is interesting. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That's okay.
Big Bot said, my ex always had a grudge with me because she was a chemistry major. She was upset that she spent so much money on school. It was one of the hardest fields. She was extremely smart, but yet I made more money than her because I was more willing to be socially outgoing, can network to achieve my goals via wasting money on college. This was one of the reasons why we broke up.
One of the reasons why you broke up is you thought that she wasted money on college, and I am curious as to how delicate you were with that concept.
It's true. Well, because that is true, because that is a fragile talking, like people that like did waste a bunch of money on college and like aren't making a lot of money, they do get very offended if
how
you start
autistic
talking
are
shit
you,
about
my
them.
friend? How
autistic
are you?
Even so, it's so weird thinking about that too. It's such a like it's entitlement if you like get a degree and think you should be making more money than somebody inherently who doesn't have a degree. Like especially now the trade, like if you can fucking weld, you're doing great.
Welders
but
are
like
they just weld themselves a lock.
I got a welder buddy who barely fucking functions and he makes fucking bank. But but yeah, it's one. I do see that a lot, like entitlement with like I went through all this, I proved that I was smart, but and that's some fucking bullshit on their part. Like the world doesn't owe you anything, right? You go to degree, and if you go into it being like I'm now smarter or I know more stuff because I got a degree, that's the only thing you got out of it, right? You paid a lot of money to know a couple more formulas that you could have like learned on the job,
to specialize in one particular thing, really, because it actually doesn't give you common sense or like any like vast knowledge. It basically just makes you have a lot of knowledge on this one fucking thing. And in my opinion, a lot of people I know that like did graduate from college, they're like somewhat retarded. But the R word that shall not be mentioned.
Oh, are we on Twitch? You can't say that on Twitch.
No, I can. They're retarded. Are we on Twitch, though? I am on Twitch. I say retarded all the time on Twitch, but they're sensitive. Like titties are allowed, but I can't say retarded.
They're only sensitive if you're on one side of the aisle.
I know.
The fucking goddamn commies can do whatever the fuck they want.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. I'll switch my card. Get it?
Yeah, switch my card.
I'll go from independent to commie and get away with.
No, the titty girls can get away with anything too. Like literally.
The
like
I don't beat Twitch. They won.
I
know. They won.
Twitch just said that artistic nudity is allowed, which I thought that was fun. I was like, I don't know what artistic nudity.
Okay, we give up.
I'm glad you asked that. Yeah, what the fuck is artistic nudity? Like,
so now there's a bunch of VTubers that are just like naked because that's literally anime characters. So it is artistic nudity. I don't know what like the guidelines.
That's where like that's hentai stuff, right? Like
dude, VTubers slay, and it makes me so mad because I'm like an actual human, and like a VTuber will like crush me on the same video game. We'll be playing the same video game, and people would rather watch this bitch that has an anime character representing her and she's probably looks like a fucking chud, and I literally am streaming as a human, and they're like, we'd rather go watch the anime character.
Well, you know what? I mean, if you're paying attention, you might as well fucking hop in the hot tub and put some fucking tape on.
I know. If only I was Amaranth, and if I had that kind of, courage.
You know what? Everybody has a
bravery.
price. Everything has a price.
Dude. Yeah. Wait. So are you on dating apps, Phil?
I do have a Tinder profile. Yeah.
Oh my God, you have Tinder? Oh my God.
Tinder's great for one night
Hinge.
stands.
I was gonna say, if you're looking for something serious.
More weirdos on Tinder than anything but Field.
Actually, now that I reflect, I think I met you on Tinder.
I don't believe that I don't believe that there's an attractive person on Tinder.
Really?
Yeah, no, why don't you have Hinge? Hinge is where even the somewhat normal people are. Even going back to
wide net, be on all of them.
I'm gonna be honest.
There you go.
I know that's what you and M do. You guys do. You do good work, Ren. You do good work. But I would say going back to the conversation as being a smart woman, that and also using dating apps, they overwhelm the shit out of me, and I kind of hate them because I also feel like you can't convey who you are accurately via a dating app, and you have to it's like you have to go through all of these people
rituals. You gotta go through the rituals.
I can't do it. I can't. I never
you have
been
to
able
enjoy talking to
I've had
strangers.
success meeting people
it's
briefly.
just like dating
I like
in the
talking
real
to
world.
strangers in person. I just don't like talking to strangers online, and I hate the
You literally
chit
talk to
chat.
strangers online for a job.
This is I know, but it's different. It's different. It is different. I don't know why it's different, but it fucking is.
That's such a woman. That's such a woman thing.
No, it is. I mean, to be fair, I don't talk to strangers online to date them. Okay, that's the difference.
That's true.
So you don't get random dick pics, is what you're saying?
No, I get random people asking me for pics. I don't get dick pics though.
What's your OF? Right? That's the question.
Yeah.
You get
Do
that?
you sell pics? That's the question usually.
Do you
sell bulbs of vagine?
Do you sell
Bob's
pics?
Gene.
No, I do not sell pics, sir. So this person had a perspective on dating.
The app does not care how many relationships, how many marriages they create. The app cares how much money they bring in short-term and long-term. Auto swiping right. It doesn't work with most algorithms. Reason being that if you are automatically swiping right, there are two things happening. Number one, the app is rating you based on how selective or unselective you are, and it's correlating unselective to unattractive in many cases. So you're going to be seen by the app as less attractive. Also, if you are willing to swipe right on mediocre girls, the app has no incentive to show you attractive girls. So the auto swipe right strategy, which did actually kind of work in the very early days of online dating, absolutely does not work in most apps now. And that's something you need to understand because the algorithm will be against you if you employ such a strategy.
I actually think that the whole swipe right thing is when all the guys will just swipe right on everyone. I hate that. This is the other reason, because I was just getting bombarded with matches where it would be every fucking guy ever matched me, so my fucking shit was just overwhelming. I think that that's a horrible strategy.
Because you're not ugly.
No, I think guys actually are doing the swipe right on everyone. That's a strategy that guys do where they literally swipe right on everyone.
Yeah, I don't think that's. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that's most guys. And according to most dating apps' own data, most guys find most girls attractive.
Most guys find most girls attractive.
Yeah, this is.
Yes.
I don't agree with Kyle on this.
Most?
He
But
says
that's
this all the
what
time.
the dating apps say.
It's something
that
like
is
88.
what
A
that is
lot
what
of dudes
their
that are
own
swiping
data
right on
reports.
anything.
Well, no, that's
Yeah.
because guys are swiping right on everyone. The data does not match up because guys are doing the swipe right on everyone's strategy.
My God.
I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
no, I don't.
I still think
I don't
think
think
there's an
I don't
adage
think
that
that's happening.
most men would sleep with 80% of women. Sleep.
Oh
with
my
sleep
God.
with. Sleep with
Do you not
is
agree,
different
Phil?
than date.
I know that there are a lot of dudes that will do a lot of stuff with a lot of women. I am
felt heavy.
not one of those dudes.
Yeah, but that's totally fine. That's totally fine for you to not be one of those people and still see that in the world.
Yeah,
but
I'm not telling anyone that they should or shouldn't, but the idea of 80% of the people that you see.
No.
Like
I don't.
like, dude, really?
Well, okay. Well, so like dating apps
How
also aren't
desperate
like
are you?
that's not like average, right? Like I don't want to say it's niche, but it's not necessarily average, right? Like people are going to somewhat self-select. And Phil, kind of to maybe against your point, you're not necessarily an average dude. Like I think you're a good-looking dude and you're affluent for sure. You go on big podcasts and you're the lead singer of a band. I know, but I'm fluffing you, but it's true. Right?
He wants to suck your dick. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, well, maybe just the tip, but like yeah, you have a little bit more choice than most average guys, and like that may sound like I'm fluffing you, but I sincerely believe that's true.
I mean, I think I definitely, I swing above my weight, definitely. But like that's because women aren't attracted to just physical looks and stuff like that.
Yes, right.
And I get that. I don't know. I mean, maybe because I have such a negative opinion on the care that most people put into their bodies and lives nowadays.
Oh, agreed.
And so the idea that you'll have sex with 80% of the people, that's so incredibly unselective, and that just means you'll bone anything. And
yes, most guys will because they're necessitous. Most guys have not, or I shouldn't say most, but about 30% of guys have not had sex within like the last year. So yes, there are quite a few bit of guys. No, that's why I stopped and I said about 30%. Yeah. So there is a fraction.
A good portion of the guys like can't at all, Like,
exactly. So we're talking about a third.
Married and, so
exactly. So a third of guys have not had sex within the last year, and then there's probably a decent number of those guys. Like 30% of the people on Tinder are actually married. So that means if you're on Tinder and married, chances are you're probably not getting laid. So you're probably looking for some, some tail.
But that's why the people who are like, if you are having sex, the language you can use is like, what's the thing where it's like a very small percentage of people are having a large percentage
Pareto principle,
the dating sex.
Yeah, the Pareto principle.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds like
the Pareto principle is basically like a small percentage of like any given group is doing like the largest portion of the work.
No, but I think this is
You're muted, Brandy. Brandy's gone. I think your mic just unplugged. So
it says you're muted. There you go.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties. Be with.
I think your boob almost fell out too.
All right. I'm good.
Phil was very focused.
Your audio is also not great.
Yeah.
Mine?
You're not on your mic.
Oh, that's your like your computer
laptop mic.
Yeah.
No, it's my camera mic. There we go.
We're
back in business.
Well, here's another oh god, the whatever podcast, the bane of my existence.
It is pretty painful.
A man opens up his app, hopes that a woman who he has liked previously has now matched with him. Women are opening their app to a sea of men who have already liked them, and they're now just selecting which one they are going to match with. That is the way it works. Again, what's the dance that he talked about earlier? A woman markets herself, a man makes the first move, a woman then has to accept that move and see if she wants to proceed any further. That's the mating dance for humans. So, as a man, when a woman is able to literally just take the preferences, like she doesn't have to go out and find a 6-foot-tall man. She can literally just swipe on all the 6-foot-tall men who have already liked her within a certain radius and mileage, right? Men who are not hitting the standards on paper are going to it's going to be the exact opposite effect of the girls who are average to below average who still have a ton of guys in their inbox. Their egos are going to be inflated. Men's egos are going to be completely deflated.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing about today's dating scene or whatever. It's everything about it seems bad.
Well, the dating, I will say,
I think it's fun.
There's like I don't think it's like there are positives and negatives. I do think that the dating apps definitely changed the game, and I don't really know if I think that the game is better now. I think that, to be honest, it is better to meet people in person because you really can't tell if you are compatible or if your vibes mesh or like if you're going to like enjoy their presence
you can't
unless you're in
gauge
person with them.
You
Yeah,
can't
like, you
gauge their
can't.
desire or if they're actually enjoying talking to you because like
Yeah.
there's so many different barriers. Like texting is a lot.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I can absolutely gauge when somebody
You
is
are
engaged.
someone that would. You're one of the dudes that would fuck 80% of women.
That's not. See,
Hey,
that's
when I was
I'm just
when I was on
kidding.
dating apps, when I was on dating apps, I did very, very well, and I would fuck 80% of things that fucking came across my fucking table when I was on dating apps. But like once again, I had good luck with it. But like when you meet, sometimes people don't text the way that they communicate. So like if you message me on Twitter, something like that, you may not get all of the full context and the emotion that I may speak with because I'm a very gregarious,
He's a very
social
emotional man.
Yeah, well, I'm a happy person. I'm always a very gregarious, and I enjoy social interaction. You may not get that when we're texting. So, like, if you're texting
They can't
somebody,
pick up on your riz.
Exactly right.
You can,
to put it in Zoomer speak.
There are texting styles that can convey that. Like you can totally
Yeah,
convey
but-
energy with words.
Somewhat, but I feel like if you're with somebody, you can gauge that much better.
Sure, it's easier. I get it. I do think it put barriers in place.
You
But
hear my dog complaining?
Yeah.
You got a pit bull just like me, right?
Yeah, hold on, I'm gonna let her out. She's been locked up.
go do
That's good. Yeah, you're good.
But like I'm saying, also first of all, I
do.
The 95% of the dating pool is not open to me. All right. So I have to filter. All right. You guys are like, I would sleep with 80% of people. There's most people, not necessarily that I wouldn't sleep with them, but they're not suitable people for me.
They're not
to,
poly and
yeah, they're not poly, they're not kinky, they're not looking looking for what I'm selling.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's an easy one to just like get right through.
Yeah.
But then the problem is all the people who are like polycurious, who are like, ooh, you seem interesting. I'd be willing to give it a try. And I'm like,
I have a question for you, Ren. Okay, so back to the pair bonding conversation. Do you feel like it gives you any trouble with pair bonding? Like, do you feel like you're bonded to all of your partners, or only Emily and maybe Amanda are the ones that you hang out with the most?
well, I mean, my longest relationship is the one I see the most infrequently, right? So
Yeah,
my
and
part-
that doesn't mean that you're pair bonded though. That just means that you guys like
All right,
see
well,
each other.
give me
You
the-
know what
give
I
me
mean?
the- give me the quick
pair bonded
explanation of what pair
means
bonding
that
means.
like if you guys broke up, you would be like absolutely devastated. It means that there's like so for example, me and Rin actually we briefly dated, right? And I dated him and his girlfriend. I feel like that breakup was the easiest breakup I ever had because I maintained friendships with both of you. We're still like close. Like there was, in my opinion, it wasn't like I had this like heart-wrenching, like end of the world feeling that I've had in like every other breakup ever. I don't know. And like I'm just wondering if that's like normal in a poly situation or not. And if like for example, it seems like it's easier to let go. I feel like if you and Emily broke up, it would not like it would be devastating for both of you because that pair bond, you guys live together.
I see
you guys,
what you're saying.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah. So all right. So I would
When
say
you
that,
see someone once a week or even like once every few weeks, it's like the pair bonding isn't as
I mean, honestly, like my partner who lives outside of the country, if we were to break up, I would be pretty devastated. But I have
Would
other
she?
partners. That's a great question. Maybe I'll ask them that. That's an interesting thought. I don't think in those terms. But there are people in my life who I'm very connected to. I feel very strongly about, but I would understand if they didn't want to date me anymore. And so it would be easy to kind of like separate that out. But like, I mean, even when I was like kind of like trying to do monogamy and like felt really strongly and like relationships ended, end of the world thing, like, I don't know that.
Are you almost saying like that's like not beneficial either way?
Well,
right?
so let me put it this way. In the poly world, I see tons of people who have breakups and are fucking devastated by them. And the fact that they have other partners to console them actually makes it harder because now they feel like they're a fucking, emotional wreck and they're just dragging down the room everywhere they go. And so like people trying to give them affection is actually adding negativity to the pile.
Mm-hmm.
But
it seems like it's easier to stay friends after a poly. Am I wrong?
I think that's because poly people are better communicators. Like, we didn't break up. It was like we were able to talk about it. It's like, why isn't this working? What what is going on? Let's so like de-escalating a poly relationship is just people who maybe are better able to like articulate exactly why and not take offense to it, where it's like, hey, like I really like you as a person, I really care about you, but this romantic thing we have going on isn't working well. In a monogamous world, you get a fucking pan thrown at you. In our world, we're like, all right, let's fucking talk about it. Like, there could be rounds of negotiation for what the breakup looks like, which is like asinine to most people. I understand that sounds insane, but like, it's like we could just fucking talk about this. Like, okay, I know I'm a bad example. We talk about this all the time, where if the less expectation you have, like the less ownership of, like when I date people, I feel like I'm like happy that they choose to have me in their life every moment. Right. I don't every day. It's like, oh, but I expect to die every day. So it's like,
oh my God, drama queen.
It's just a good mindset. Like you get into that where like when every day is a gift. Yeah. But there's a whole school of thought about that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It lets me be happy easily because I'm like, not
it
planning
sounds
for
like
the
a
future.
stoic kind of philosophy.
I'm big into stoicism.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
I literally keep a fucking copy of Meditations in my back pocket.
I got a copy of Meditations on my
oh my God, twinsies.
Do you want to do a quick aside on that? Do you like really like lean into it much?
No, I don't know. No, it's something
you
that
seem very stoic, Phil.
Me?
Yeah, you give off very stoic vibes.
I think that's my beard.
Marcus Aurelius and
yeah, I think that's what it is.
Look good on a marble bust.
Oh, the red pill would be mad about this. Communication is a major key in any type of relationship.
I know. I'm the walking counterpoint. That
I think communication is extremely important, and I will always say that. And I don't know why a lot of red pill people will say like men should communicate less because it makes you vulnerable, and women hate that shit. I think they only hate that shit if they just don't like you anyway.
Well, if they think if you're communicating and it makes you seem like a pussy, then
Kyle, we talked about this before, where like there's certain flavors of vulnerability that are very attractive, and certain flavors of vulnerability that are very off-putting.
If a woman loves you can be a bitch and they'll still love you. Okay, like if she loves you can literally be the most bitchy, vulnerable person in a moment when you're like having a bad time, and they will still love you. I'm telling you. I know. The woman doesn't know anything. She's
no. I'm saying if you go
I
and
like
cry,
your style.
if you go into cry in your girlfriend's lap about how hard your work day was, she doesn't care. She does not give a remote fuck.
It's context. Well,
not every day, but like if it happens, like when something bad happens, then it like.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, okay, so if like my mom died,
I'm trying it once every 9 years, and it seems to be okay.
See,
like,
there you go.
I'm like hey, it's hard.
If you're being a bitch every day, then I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, okay, so if my mom died tomorrow or something like that, I cried to my wife. I'm sure she would understand. But like, if I came home and said, "Oh, my dick hurts," and I had a rough day at work, I don't care. She doesn't care.
Yeah, well, I mean that you deserve it for that because that's. Like,
but that's okay. But that's what. Yeah, that's what being a bitch generally means. Right, is that you're crying about normal life circumstances.
We could teach people how to communicate. Like, oh, these are things that it's like really good to articulate, and you can share that stuff.
Sure.
And this is other stuff you need to fucking sit on.
And also, like, I've already said I only have a wave top understanding of like red pill stuff, but I kind of was under the impression that the red pill vibe was they kind of felt like if you at all were emotional with a woman that or that being emotional with a woman at all was a bad thing.
Yeah, that is it actually.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
I think it was it didn't bring any if I'm recalling Rollo correctly, it's like it doesn't bring any value.
I just fucking read a Rollo post. I like Rollo, and we got back and forth. We have nice little combos. It is what it is. Like that he just reshared Chris Williamson, who I actually like. I think that Chris Williamson has decent content, and it was about how men being vulnerable isn't bad.
Vulnerability versus being a bitch. Once again, if you're complaining about your life,
Rollo was saying that Rollo was responding to Chris being like, oh, you're trying to get men to emote like a woman, and was saying that it was a negative.
Okay, but the general point is that men today are already way too emotional, right? I don't think anybody would debate that.
I would debate that. I think men are emotionally stunted. I do. I think that men.
No, I think most.
I
most
agree with
guys
Rin.
today. No, I think most guys today are overly emotional, and they could use a little bit more, understanding that hey, life is gonna suck sometimes, and your duty as a guy is to work your ass off and be the best guy that you can.
It depends on the
you.
emotion, because I'll say that a lot of men might.
Sure.
There is like like aggressive is an emotion, like rage is an
Sure,
emotion,
yes.
anger is an emotion.
Yes.
And I think a lot of men express that emotion
Yes.
very easily, but like the other emotions they struggle with a little bit. like
Right, I would
like
agree with that.
like when a woman is mad, a lot of times they cry. When a man is mad, he yells and screams and freaks out usually.
Yes.
Unless you like date someone that doesn't do that, which I
How come men
have
freak
to.
out to you and women cry?
Wait, how come?
How come you articulated it like that?
Well, because I know I cry when I'm mad. That's what I do.
Yeah,
but
and men freak out. Though.
Well, no, well, I can't say that all men do that, but I was in an abusive relationship that was like physically abusive for a long time, and like that was how he reacted, and I think he was very emotionally stunted, and I think that was like a huge problem in that situation. But like his reaction was like violence, anger, and like he couldn't, and then he would cry like the next day when he felt bad. Like I don't know. I think that like emotionally stunted men typically are rageful. Emotionally stunted men aren't like crying all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I don't see that common.
Well, the default response for guys is to get angry because once again we have more testosterone, and that's what we're more able to do. Is we're more ready to express anger, where women aren't necessarily the same. They don't have the same capacity for anger that most men do. Like, but it is kind of funny because my wife has a shorter temper than I do. Like, I'm not a very angry person at all, but she has a very, very short fuse for most things.
Phil, where do you weigh in on the men are too emotional, not emotionally and figured out enough?
Phil.
Do I think men are too emotional or not emotional enough?
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that they're not emotional enough. I think that I don't think that they're. I mean, maybe I don't really have a take on it. Maybe I just don't like the question of emotional enough or too emotional. Maybe
I think it's more. Maybe it's like expressing emotion. Like, do you feel like men can express emotion?
No.
Well, yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So Kyle, to your point, and I don't think that men are too emotional today as it is. I think they're bad at it. And I think so, like, so I'm an overly emotional person. Like, I'm fucking like, I cater to my whims. I'm very impulsive, all these sort of things. And that's all driven by like passion and these, but people who aren't that we're not like men often aren't practiced at like reining it in. So they feel this big feeling and then they're like to tell everybody I feel this big feeling, and then nobody fucking gives a shit because it's the fucking world. And and so then they get mad that they're like, I had this big fucking thing and then nobody wanted to hear it. So now I'm feeling even more things that are, and it's just like this whole, they're just not practiced at like, oh, I feel this thing. Everyone fucking around me is feeling these big fucking things. And like it really like when the red pill advises not communicating, not figuring this stuff out, I'm like,
I don't think it's not communicating. I think it's against being vulnerable and also understanding that once again, as a guy, you have a burden of performance. You have to become so that way women or people will view you as valuable. If you're
but I can agree with that. I can agree with that. While still like if you can figure out what drives you, right? Like this is like to me. Like you want to figure out, right? Like, what do you enjoy about a fucking fixing a car, right? It's like, I like fixing cars, and there are people who live their whole lives just knowing that they enjoy fixing cars and never taking it a step further. But it's like, oh, do I like the complexity of the mechanics? Do I like taking this thing that was broken and, there's aspects of that you can dive into deeper.
It's the skin knuckles, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
If you're fixing cars, you end up skinning your knuckles a lot because
you can't really see any of the scars on my hand.
Yeah,
but I've plenty.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I
sorry,
just think
anyways.
I think that like when we talk about men this today being too emotional, I think it's that they're just fucking shit at it, and we actually need to lean into it, like
Yeah.
practice it more, and then people will actually come back around to what you're talking about. Like people who are good at it won't be vocal and like complain all the time. They'll be like, that's my hope anyway.
Rin, I think that you're probably onto something, but I also think that we need to have a clear vision of what positive male role is before we lean into anything, because if you lean into the wrong thing, it's only going to magnify the negative
What do
things.
you think
And I
that,
think
what is that for you? What do you think
I love that.
a positive male, like what is that for you? Because like as a woman, I do think that it's hard for me to like say, oh, this is what like positive, like
I'm glad
what
you realized
masculinity looks like. So like what do you think like good positive masculinity looks like?
I think that there is a significant part of masculinity that has a Venn diagram of being responsibility. Like, I think that responsibility taken to, maybe the extreme is not the right word, but responsibility taken as seriously as you take anything else that is life or death, that is a very good metric for masculinity, or for positive masculinity. Because if you are responsible with all aspects of your life, then you aren't going to be indulgent. If you're responsible with all aspects of your life, you're going to be in a protective position with someone that you are in a relationship with, because you're taking their safety as your responsibility. I think responsibility and masculinity are very closely related. I'm sure that there's other things that go along with it, but I do think and this is something that is still working out, but it might be okay in some situations to actually use them in each other's place.
What do you mean by that?
Use masculinity and responsibility as or maybe it's better to say in some contexts they are synonymous.
Okay. So like, and so with masculinity, would you say like that includes being responsible for others? Because I
being responsible for everybody, but being responsible for people that you have made it clear that are close to you, that you have made it clear that you're responsible
children,
for.
your spouse, like things like that. Okay.
Yes. Your family.
So I'm like very
Your
big
community.
on personal responsibility. For me, I'm just trying to like get the point across to women to just be responsible for themselves too. And that doesn't mean
they won't.
No, well,
won't.
I disagree with this. I genuinely, but I think being responsible for yourself means like just being accountable for your actions and not blaming other people for your problems that like happen in your life due to your own life choices. And I will stem this to like I disagree. I mean, I do, like, even in that abusive relationship, I reflect on that relationship and think of all of the things that I did wrong and like all of the ways that
that's
I
not the same thing. No. A woman, it is a totally different thing.
No.
Most women
How
do
is that
not
different?
reflect on stuff. Most women do not.
I think that's an ancillary thing that's not quite the same. I think women reflect on stuff all the time, Kyle.
No, but what I'm saying is like I take like my part. You know, I could just say he was an asshole. He hit me. It's all his fault. You know, but instead I reflect and I think no, but I genuinely think like there were things in that relationship that I did that wasn't perfect. I was not perfect.
That's
so
fine,
like,
but it doesn't make it like there's no reason for you to think about what you did when there's violence in it.
No. I disagree because I genuinely think that you need to have some accountability. I'm not saying that it's my fault that he hit me.
So you were asking for it a little bit.
No. That is not what I'm saying. It was definitely like his fault in that aspect. What I'm saying is that like there were things that I did wrong in that relationship as well. I was also not emotionally mature in a lot of ways. I behaved in ways that I could have behaved better. You know, like there is things that and like in order for you to like have positive relationships in the future, you need to reflect on what you did wrong in your previous relationships and how you behaved in order for those things not to like transcend into the future of every relationship that you ever have. Like, so I think that a lot of women, when you're in a toxic relationship, they'll just be like, he was an asshole. It's none of it. Nothing I did was ever wrong, you know? And I don't think that that's ever helpful. And
Do you think
like,
that's
I'm
just
giving Brandy a W on this one.
no, what? Okay. Do I think that's just women? I think that the society has 100% helped this, and one reason, second wave to third wave feminism is part of this, like the mainstream version, and the reason is because they genuinely make them think that you are oppressed by the patriarchy, men are oppressive, even with like concepts of like date rape and shit like that. Like it's always like it's so easy to just be like, he made me uncomfortable, and like so I'm uncomfortable, so that's sexual assault, you know.
She's
like
ranting.
And
yeah, Brandy, I have to hold on one second. I have that thing to take care of. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
You go on for the
Oh,
people
my God.
viewing and stuff. I'm sorry, but she's gonna get in my house if I don't.
Oh my God, she's so adorable. I love it.
I actually like Phil's take on like the need for positive masculinity and positive, and this is something I work with. I have like conversations with people a lot in my community and try to figure that out, especially like, you know, there are aspects of trying to figure out what positive masculinity looks like that isn't just defined as like being a good person, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, nowadays. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, like, you know, I hear what Phil is saying, Brandy, I hear what you're saying, and like, you know, you're going to go back and forth because it like assigning like a masculinity as an attribute to like responsibility doesn't take away from the fact that women can be responsible. And like,
well, I think all individuals should be responsible.
Correct.
It's like so like I would say like yes, I do believe I agree with Phil though on like the fact that like there is it's like the provider energy, you know, like I do think that that's correlated with masculinity, which is also why men don't like to date women that make more money than them. Usually most men don't like to date women that make more money than them, and I do think that that's because it counteracts that provider energy. But like
do you think that's inherent? Like if we had a society,
I actually do think that might be evolutionary, but I do think that you can override that by cognitive function. But like I think that inherently, yes, men like being the provider. So like if a woman is like more successful than them financially, it makes them feel like they have less to offer, and then that makes them insecure in the relationship. I
think women like it or like it less than men.
Well, I think it's both ways for sure.
Like
I'll agree.
Like making money more than men, like less than men do.
No, women like women like making more money than their man less than men.
Yes,
like they want their man to make more money than them.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, for sure, and I think that those are actually it's actually an environmental thing, and I mean not an environmental like. That's correlated to nature.
I would be super
but
curious.
It can be overridden by like you could be like, well, I make a shit ton of money, but like you can look at a bunch of qualities in a guy that might make less than you and be like, but I can rationalize this and be like, I think I want to date him anyway. But I'm saying like for the majority of women, I think that Phil is correct that most women do want to date a man that makes more money than them. Because
so, no, that's hypergamous nature. Once again, they're looking for a guy who can provide for them.
I think men are hypergamous too, and I will fucking argue this to the death.
No,
but they're hypergamous for different reasons. Okay, they're hypergamous with what?
I said I think you're wrong, and I think that's silly. But what to go to the point
just not for
positive
finances.
Masculinity. Okay, well, okay, yeah. Of course, they want a more attractive woman because yeah. Okay, well, then maybe we agree on that.
Let's rope Phil into this. Let's get some. Let's get some
I just want to touch on masculinity real quick. The problem with like finding a positive male role model now is that anytime you hear masculinity, it's typically used to manipulate you, as in like people are going to shove their brand down your throat every time they say masculinity. Like when you hear Jordan Peterson talk about masculinity, even when you hear Red Pill guys talk about masculinity, they're giving you some twist the sword version that generally resembles themselves and makes themselves feel good to tell you how to be a man. Where like, and I to kind of piggyback on what Phil said, like I would consider positive masculinity to be like responsibility, duty, competence, and confidence, right? So basically like you're responsible for the thing, you make good on your word. If you say you're going to do something, you do something. People can depend on you. You're reliable. stable, you're competent, people respect you. I think those are some like basic tenets of masculinity. But I mean, like, once again, that's even pretty broad because you'd still want to see those qualities in a woman as well. So like, you know,
You
I
don't
hate to go
expect them
Marxist.
though.
Right. But like, you want to see that in a guy.
I mean, when I don't see that in a guy, I think less of that guy too.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
you know, or when if I don't see those in a woman, I also think less of that woman. Like, to me, I hear what you're saying, and it's one of those things where it's like it feels correct when you see it, but like
Yes.
it's very hard
You
to
know it when
define
you
on
see
paper
it.
because there's
Yeah.
exceptions to the rule. Like every time you define masculinity, I can imagine a woman who fits that description perfectly and is very feminine. And
Exactly.
like, but that doesn't, you know, so it's it's very interesting for me to try to wrap my head around positive masculinity. I mean, one of the reasons why I do this show is because I try to be like, I'm kind of a walking example of like non-traditional masculinity, or at least non-traditional like gender role masculinity, and you know, still kind of like also fit the bill in certain
You don't
ways.
really strike me as particularly feminine.
I mean, it depends
That
on
was.
what.
He's a night walker. Well,
I learned from David Tennant. So if he's not masculine, I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
No, but that's the thing. You know, it's one of those things that like I don't like. I think people of all flavors have both masculine and feminine. Like, you know,
I agree.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And so then
this is
like, when we
this is the red pill hates like Jungian psychology, but it talks about the anima and the animus, which is basically your feminine and your masculine. And if you have and Jung said that if you have an undeveloped animus or anima, it will be negative, or if you have an overactive one. So if you're a woman and you're overly masculine, it's not going to be good. And if you're a man and you're overly feminine, it's not going to be good. But if you have an underactive one as well, it's also not good. It's trying to balance it and make the anima or animus balanced within yourself. So I think that that's the problem, is that men are like, well, they're trying to turn us into bitches. And it's like, well, like, yes, so don't do that. Don't become a bitch. But like, you can also like have a healthy feminine side.
I love it. Yes, and
don't become a bitch, but you can have a healthy feminine side and a healthy masculine side within a man and a woman. And I think that that's the problem, is that, in my opinion, I think women have it's like toxic femininity. Like right now, I think that what happened with feminism is that it made them toxic. Like
everything is toxic femininity. Like we are
so
steeped in toxic femininity.
I think that what women need, it's like toxic femininity and toxic masculinity with women. It's like we just need to get them more balanced and like have like a good balance
so we need more
of both.
because of both to fucking
We
women,
we need them to fucking regulate, like equilibrate.
Even when women are masculine, it's toxically masculine. They're not.
I know, that's the problem.
They're not like positive masculine ever.
No.
I always love plugging. There's a book called Self-Made Man, where a woman journalist lived as a man for a year and a half and like wrote about it. It's a really fascinating account because she was a lesbian woman and was like described often as being like very butch, very masculine woman. When she became a man as a like undercover kind of like doing the whole thing, she was described as the most effeminate man in like the bowling league and the sales thing and like the monastery and stuff. It was really fascinating to like hear that account. That so even though she was too masculine to be a woman, like of like that like flavor, she was still very, very like effeminate as a man. Neat book. I'd always plug it. I think it's a little old at this point. But.
So this is, what does accountability follow through have to do with masculinity, feminine? I mean, I think that just comes down to the individual. So I think that both men and women need to be held accountable. And one of my issues with the red pill currently is that I do think that in some cases it can actually make men put their accountability onto other things. Like they can be like, it's women's fault why I'm miserable. It's women's fault.
I know that's not red
that's
pill,
not the
that's
intention.
guys.
No, but that's not the intention,
That's the
Kyle.
guys,
but
though.
that's what's happening.
Guys.
I know. It's not the intention. Do you think feminism's intention was to make a bunch of bitches?
Well,
like literally, like I don't think it
Sort
was.
of.
No, but I mean,
Sort of.
eventually it turned out to be, and
In response to your
institutionally, it has institutional backing. so
Imagine if
therefore-
red pill became institutionalized, though.
Okay, yeah, then okay, well,
It would
then
be
you'd have a point.
problematic.
But it never would. It never will be. It never will be.
We never
I mean,
know.
the government supported eugenics, so like let's never say.
Yeah, but
Never
they
say
supported
never,
feminism.
sir.
Yeah, but I'm just
Andrew
saying. once again,
Tate's pretty
feminism-
popular.
Oh, yeah, he's popular in alt media. As he
Tucker
got
Carlson's having him on. he's basically like crushing it.
Okay,
now.
yeah, you got me. You got me on this one. I'll give it to you on that one. You win this round.
Phil, what were you saying?
I don't remember.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We're
being
gotta
very
put
rude
down
to
the
Phil.
high
We're
noons.
fucking animated
And get the
over
fuck
here.
off my
I know.
podcast.
Get
No,
the
I'm
fuck
kidding,
off my podcast. But yeah, I mean that's the thing is that like if red pill did become institutionalized, it would be equally as toxic as feminism in its current form. And I do think that the red pill
But it
likes to
would
be like, we're not
toxic
like
in a different way.
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
Okay.
It would 100% not be the same, but it would still be toxic and it wouldn't be pleasant. It wouldn't be a pleasant experience. So, I don't know. I think that that's with where my concerns with the red pill, though I see the positive. I think that sometimes I think the red pill creators, including Rolo, love you, Rolo, that they are refusing to maybe take any accountability for their audience and how they behave. And I think
They don't
sometimes
have
you
to
have
take
to.
any accountability for their
yeah.
audience.
You cannot
What'd you
make
say,
people
Phil?
accountable. You can't make people accountable for their audience. That's
You
ridiculous.
Well, I
cannot.
think
No one is responsible for the audience because they have absolutely no connection with them.
then
if it's just
feminism
someone-
isn't either.
But it's
Then no feminists are
that's
either.
completely different. That's
Why?
completely
Well, so Ryan Stone, we had a little
Well-
bit of a dialogue about this, and it was interesting, right? Where it's like, he's talking about the failure of society for like parents, teachers, all these sort of things that are leading to some of these negative behaviors consistently in demographics under the red pill. And we liked it or likened it to drug dealers, right? It's like people who are falling into that sort of trap have already been failed so many times that it's not the drug dealer's fault that person is seeking out
Died
and
of a
doing
drug
drugs.
overdose.
Right. But they're not complicit either. Right. Like it's like, or to me, red pill as some of that stuff, right? Kyle, what you said, when people talk about masculinity, it's a grift, it's a brand, like they're trying to sell something. So if somebody's trying to sell something to their audience and what they're selling is maybe harmful, even if it's not their fault, isn't there at some level, if you're successful and have, this sort of integrity that we would hope that, people with positive masculine traits, wouldn't there be a reflection, a self-reflection where we evaluate, hey, maybe what I'm selling is bad for people in some level.
I see what you're saying, but like, how far are you willing to go with that? So like,
You just say personal responsibility.
Yeah,
Like,
but
get your shit together.
but then now, Brandy, now you're saying the red pill guys are accountable, but then you're trying to play both sides where it's personal responsibility.
No,
and
I'm saying
Rolla-
that they have to have some personal responsibility. Like as a drug dealer, if I sell drugs, I am responsible for the drugs that I sell.
Right,
And then
but,
the
like-
audience is also responsible for. I can only do a certain level of what I'm capable of doing with my responsibility, and then it's on to the other people. But you can't just be. Because I do think sometimes some red pill content will not have any sort of male. I've never seen a red pill content creator ever shit on men, ever say anything bad about anything
then
men
you
ever
have
do.
not
most of the time.
listened to enough. And once again, because they're not
Like it's always
fucking
shitting on
men.
like certain things. Like
They're
but
not
certain
fucking men.
That's
the
true.
point
That's true.
isn't the point isn't to shit on men. The point is for men to get information to make their lives better. Right?
Yeah.
If the objective was to shit on men, then it would be a bunch of women clucking hens on The View talking about how to shit. Not literally, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Is that like basically it would be a completely different context here, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, if I was trying to find a
Wait.
dude,
So
then-
are you saying that feminists are responsible for their crowd?
Yeah, why are feminists
Okay, hold on. Okay, the difference between feminism and red pill is that feminism has been institutionalized and it's been around for over, close
So
to
isn't it
100
the
years now at this point.
institutionalized? It's the institution's fault then, not feminism. If we're going to
The
go with that.
institution, well, the institution affected culture and has a much larger influence overall. Now, once again, you could definitely make the argument, I'd probably agree, that if red pill was somehow institutionalized and enforced the same way that feminism was, then you would maybe have an argument. But like the comparison to just say that like, oh, red pill's just as bad as feminism, well, no, because one has been institutionalized and one hasn't. So, I mean, they're two completely different things in this respect. Yes, red
But
pill's
then it's
niche.
the institution's fault. It's the fact
Okay.
that the
Okay, fair
institution
enough.
institutionalized feminism.
I think the three of us.
Then you
me,
can't
and
blame
Phil, would agree.
feminists, technically.
Yeah, but they affected the culture. Red pill has not affected and subverted the culture.
I would say
the same
that
way
it is
feminism has.
affecting. I think it is
Nowhere
affecting
near-
Zoomers.
Okay,
I think it
but
is.
Nowhere
I think
near,
it's affecting them.
nowhere near as much as feminism.
I think there's a reason, like people, like I know that people don't like to hear it, but I do think that like with this new like incel movement, I think incels have always existed, but I think now they're feeling extra feisty.
A rounding error of the population is the amount of incels there in the population.
That was 30%.
I do not think no, 30% of men have not had sex within the last year. They're not incels. They do not consider themselves incels. Incels, self-identified incels, are a rounding error in the population. They're less than Transformers or Decepticons. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, but
they're less. Yes, they're less than them.
But you're talking about people who are self-identifying with the culture and the community of incels. But the number of people who are involuntarily celibate is much larger.
Yeah, but I mean, like, incel is a specific thing. Somebody who calls themselves
sure, but it's a term that's been co-opted by a small group of people. That rounding error of people have taken the word to be like a badge of honor.
No. I don't think anybody co-opted the term incel. Incels are losers. Like incels, I made a joke like the world would be better if people did not self-identify with their inability to get laid with women. Like you are a loser. You suck. If you can't have sex with a woman, you suck. It's not that hard. You just have to not be average. It's not that hard to not be average. The average dude can't pick. Yeah, the average dude can't pick.
30% of people hadn't had sex in the last
year. In a year.
Presumably, those people wanted to have sex.
But they don't identify as okay.
No,
fair
enough.
So wait, what's the timeline? How long does it take till you go into incel territory? Is it like 5 years?
Self-identify,
You actually say I'm an incel?
Yes, if you say you're an incel, you're a loser.
What?
No, but are you saying that you are only an incel if you say you're an incel?
Yeah.
Right. I don't agree with that statement.
Because I think there's plenty of people that are probably incels and they don't even know it.
Yeah, but I don't think the dude, like the incels are running around saying, "Wow, my dick hurt." Yeah.
Just give me another month and I'll have sex. I promise. Like, give me,
Well, look, the incels are running around saying, "My penis hurts and I suck with women. I can't get laid, and despite trying." You suck. The guys who haven't got laid in the last year, that nobody knows what the fucking incel is. Like people throw it around as a joke, but like nobody knows. I didn't even know what an incel was until like maybe a year or two ago. And now the incel.cs Twitter, which is like the biggest incel Twitter, they have 14,000 followers. Okay, they have zero influence. So once again, we're talking about a rounding error.
But again, Kyle, if the 30% of people who aren't having sex if some of them are a source of shitty behavior in the dating scene, they're influencing the culture. Right? So if these are the people who are like, oh, I haven't had sex in a year, I finally gone on a date with somebody I really like, I'm excited about, I buy them dinner, I'm super nice to them, and then they fucking blow me off to go fucking hook up with some fucking jock they saw at the bar, and I fucking rant about them on the fucking internet because they were fucking rude to me. That's incel behavior. Right?
Actually,
this is what we're talking about.
I would agree, and you're a loser.
This correlates to something that I wanted to talk about. So there's like this concept where people, this is the last one. This is the final thing that we will be talking about tonight. The concept of an alpha widow, right? So they say that like a woman, if she dates a guy in the past and like he breaks her heart, she's an alpha widow and like she will never be able to get over him, avoid alpha widows, blah, blah, blah. I can show a clip. Okay, hold on. Please give me one second, because don't worry, Brian from the Whatever podcast is going to
There's this concept called alpha widow, where once you've hooked up or slept with or been in a relationship with a certain tier of man, it's going to be really hard to pair bond with a guy who doesn't match up to that. And here's where women get in trouble on this and men don't. Let's say you're a 7 or a 6. You could like hook up with a dude who's an 8. He might not ever commit to you. That's where women get fuck zoned by the guy. He might just want you for a one night stand. He might just sleep with you a couple times, string you along. That's where situationships typically play out. Then when you look at the guy who's actually on your level, who's prepared to commit to you, who's prepared to be in a relationship with you, even though he's actually your looks equivalent, your socioeconomic equivalent, you think you're settling for him.
So I actually believe that men can also become alpha widows. And I think that is somewhat correlated occasionally to the incel or people that like aren't dating or whatever, is like if a guy dates a girl that's like extremely above his like looks range or whatever, and then he has a hard time dating women because he has accepted that that's what he can get. I don't believe alpha widows is just for like females. Only females are alpha widows. I 100% disagree with this. I think that men can also become an alpha widow, and I think that it's like, when does say a guy dates a woman, he is deeply in love, he is obsessed with her, and then she breaks his heart, and then there's like a hop, skip, and a jump to them becoming MGTOW and an incel, because they're like, fuck women, I hate them, because they can't get a woman like that again, and they're having a hard time getting a woman like that again.
Okay, who wants?
We've got silence. Nobody.
Sorry, no. I didn't want to be rude and run over anybody.
Same. Phil, you got any thoughts?
Not really.
No.
Well, okay. So
I hate this term.
Okay, well, okay, maybe I'll go first then. The idea of alpha widow basically would be like, so if a woman pairs up with, like, let's say Drake, right? Just for reference, because everybody knows who Drake is, knows he's a very famous, affluent dude that everybody knows. What some guys would say, and I don't know how much I buy into this. This is iffy for me. What guys would say is that basically, like, because she hooked up with Drake, that her perception of normal now is Drake. So, like, basically, and once again, I'm not saying I agree with this. This is just the nomenclature of it. Is that, like, she hooked up with Drake, so now she expects that she can always pull a guy like Drake, but doesn't understand that, like, he just hooked up with you because you were available.
I disagree.
And he found you attractive. Once again, I'm not saying I necessarily agree with this.
I actually agree in the concept of alpha widows in regards to them getting into a relationship with that person, but not if they just fucked them once. I would say you could, yes, if a girl dated Drake for a year and he broke her heart, she's gonna have that caliber that I can date people like Drake. Not if I fucked Drake for a night, she's gonna think that now I can fuck Drakes. And I think that's a male and female thing, not
I'm a little 50-50 on this, because, like, so men and women are going to interpret sex differently. So, like, sex for a woman is going to be a lot more meaningful to her. So if she, she's going to interpret, like, a lot of interest from Drake if he has sex with her, whereas, like, a guy interprets.
I think you're giving no credit to the person who's fucking Drake in this instance. I don't think the person fucking Drake is like, wow, I think Drake really loves me. Like
that's what she probably thinks, because that's what,
No.
I feel like you're not giving any credit to people going into a situation, be like, oh, this fucking celebrity, I get a chance to fucking, like, have sex with him.
You think girls are? I genuinely think that girls. There might be a few, but I would say the majority of women are not that retarded, where they're like, oh, anytime a guy
You're
fucks
very
me,
generous.
that means that, like, this is the caliber of man I can get at all points in time. No, I don't agree with that.
Like I said, I'm not 100% on or off board with it, but it's tough to say. I don't know,
what
because,
the hell
like,
are you guys putting in your smoothies?
it's funny, that's somebody that worked for my dad.
My smoothie's empty. I'm dry. My throat is so parched.
Mine too.
Wait, so Phil, you got nothing? You're like, I don't know, no opinions. Do you believe that men or women can become alpha widows, or do you think that it is a fake concept?
I mean, I suppose it makes sense for a guy to, like, date an attractive girl or land an attractive girl and then assume that he can get a girl that attractive all the time. But I feel like when it comes to, like, I feel like most guys only judge women on the context that they're in. So most guys don't get a chance to be around a 10.
But if, say, they got into a relationship with a 10, like they managed to nail the 10, or they nailed a 7, okay?
I mean,
I get 5.
I get,
like, and they're like a 4 or 5. They nailed a 7, and they're like, fuck, I should always be able to nail a 7 or an 8. Like, they just get that.
I think that dudes that, if you successfully, like, land someone outside of your kind of, your socioeconomic, your league, or whatever you want to call it, you might get the impression that you are up there. But I don't think that happens to guys, because I think because we already talked about dudes will bang 80% of the chicks that they see.
Bang, but not get into a relationship with. So that is the difference. Will
I
guys
don't
get
think
into a
guys-
relationship with 80%
I
of the women
don't
they see?
think guys. Most guys don't put a whole lot of thought into the difference between banging and getting into a relationship.
Oh, are we
Remember,
serious?
most guys don't have a lot of opportunities, and most guys don't have a lot of options. So
Okay.
because they
most-
don't
yeah,
have a
most
lot of
guys are-
options, if you're like your average dude, now I'm not talking about like dudes that are like, wealthy or really attractive or really successful or whatever, but your average dude, like if he lands one chick, he's probably going to try to bang that chick again because she already did it once. She'll probably do it again. And how long was it before, again, we're talking about average dudes. How long was it between that chick and the previous time that he got laid? Because if he's an average dude, it probably wasn't, last week he was with another chick and the week before he was with another one.
But
You're
what
talking
makes a
about
guy
average dudes.
average though? Like, is it because so I worked as a dating consultant for a while. I've talked about clients, and this one guy, he was very wealthy, but had a lot of money.
It's probably just his ability to connect with people. It's probably that's where average is probably.
Wait, you would say like the average would be their ability to connect with people.
I
Autistic
think-
people, you're fucked.
Yeah, and yes, she's right. Autistic people are fucked. But yeah,
Love you
at least
guys.
autistic dudes, autistic women, you're not, because all you have to do is be there.
Well, also autistic women mask, so it's hard to tell.
Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, I think the most important thing for breaking the ice and meeting women and stuff is charisma. It doesn't matter what your job is, doesn't matter how much you make or whatever. But the part of charisma is confidence, and all that other stuff goes into confidence. So I do think that dudes don't get the chance. Your average dudes, again, don't get the chance very often, and when they get the chance, they'll keep going back to the well.
See, I actually think that's a big part of why people I think that's where a lot of the negative shit comes from, is because of that like desperation, I guess, right? Like when you're not having a lot of opportunity,
Necessitous.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're like, I blew my chance. Like it makes you angry. You might even be angry at yourself and then lash out at people and cause all these problems. And then it's this big cycle because you were angry at somebody and you yelled at this person who did nothing wrong. Now they're more guarded the next time, so then they're going to be less. It's like this whole like we're like poisoning the well for each other. Like I think, and I live in a world where like people are much more likely to have like sex with each other, and for lots of different reasons. And it's very easy to like when you have a lot of sexual opportunity.
There are a lot of different reasons to have sex. I kind of feel like there's kind of one reason to have sex.
Really, I want to talk about that now, but I want to finish that thought. It's when you have a lot of opportunity, hearing a no is really easy. Right? You're like, hey, would you like to like go on a date or something like that? Like, no, I'm not really interested. You're like, all right, cool. Thanks for like letting me know. Like, I'll see you around. It's really pleasant and friendly. Whereas if you've built this whole, I'm going to ask them out
At the end of the day,
that's a great.
It wasn't some big like. It was just like,
I was waiting for some mythical reveal.
No,
like,
no,
some secrets to life that I need
just
to know
because people
about.
dig it, man. That's why.
I don't know why that was confusing, Ren.
So all right, so like I was getting more granular. Like it's
Yeah, he
always
was
to
expecting
enjoy
that.
it, but there's so many different ways you can enjoy sex. Like we don't need
This
to talk
fucking
about that.
guy.
I'm
This
sorry.
fucking guy.
I got
I'm not
to
getting
on my
into the weeds
whiskey.
about sex.
Yeah, exactly.
This is the first time I've ever done any kind of like any kind of relationship podcast or discussion or whatever. So
Did you hate
No,
it?
you did good.
Did you hate
That was
it?
super. Kyle.
Hey!
Oh, you did a good job. What
Yeah,
a good puppy.
No, did
He
you
even let his dog out. Come on, man.
Did you
That's a
hate
round
it,
of applause.
Phil? Like, how do you feel? Like, did you enjoy it at least?
I mean,
This is bad date.
well, now I'm
Do
taking
this
too
at the
long
end of
to
your
answer. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I didn't. Yes. So the conversation was polite and wonderful. Everybody's super nice. So yes, it was a lovely conversation. I don't know that I have much valuable to add to these conversations, but
I thought you were really insightful. I really enjoyed some of
it's
the
just
stuff
your
you brought up.
opinion. That's like it. It's just kind of getting people on to like get their take, because I think everyone has a different perspective, and I think that what happens is a lot of times you only get like very small amount of people's perspectives.
Sure, yeah.
And like those are the people that you only hear, and like you think that like I think it's very easy for people on the internet to be like everyone must think this way because this one person's like spreading these ideas, and these ideas are very popular, when it should just be like, no, everyone's an individual, sir.
No,
ma'am. Like, and this is the thing. I believe individuality is the like spice of life. I think that more people need to really like lean into that and into personal responsibility. I don't think that's just
burn you at the stake.
I know they will. I think it might have happened in a past life. But I genuinely believe that personal responsibility is extremely important for both men and women. It's not just a masculine thing, because if we don't make women also realize that they need to become responsible for themselves, at least, it's gonna be a hot mess. And I think that like the arguments between male and women are gonna just continue to fucking happen. It's just gonna continue to fucking happen when women just keep like, literally, I just made a post about boyfriend air, which is like the dumbest concept ever. It's women saying that when they're around their boyfriends they get uglier, when literally they changed their outfit. And like, yeah, they fucked their boyfriend, so their makeup rubbed off. Like, and they're like, oh, it's boyfriend air. For some reason, when I'm in like the same air as my boyfriend, I'm ugly. It's like, no, bitch. You gave your boyfriend a blowjob, your makeup rubbed off, and now you changed your clothes because you wanted to get comfortable. That is not your boyfriend's fault. You didn't breathe.
He put his balls on your chin. What'd you think was gonna happen?
I know. Like, it's not that you breathed the air of your boyfriend and now somehow you got like less attractive. Like, God. But that's what I mean. It's like,
look is a more attractive look anyway.
I know. I've heard. I know. Like a little mascara never hurt anyone. Okay.
Yeah, if you get just a little hint of tear.
I know.
There you go.
I think
anyway, this was a fucking dope conversation. I was about it, Phil. I was into it. I'm sorry if I was ranty tonight.
No, you were not ranty at all.
Oh, good.
Too many high noons.
How many did I have? I don't even know. 4?
Yeah, see, there it is.
4. I think I counted 4.
I've had 4. You've been counting?
I count every time.
Look at him. He's like concerned. He's like, what is she gonna do? What's she gonna do tonight? The savage.
This is your show, Brandon. I need you to make sure it's like, are we gonna keep this shit going?
Man, Jesus.
But GG's, y'all, and yeah. Everyone do your Phil. Where can people find you? Where give your stuff.
You can find me. I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can follow us on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, the internet.
And then Kyle.
Comatobic in Liberty and Health, usually 2 days a week, 5 till midnight on Mondays with the boys from Biting the Bullet, Adam Nutter and Sam Urban. A Common Crown. Yeah, oh, he's the man. A Common Crown will be releasing our single Cry sometime this month, which is a fucking neck breaker. I cannot wait for everybody to hear this tune. I'm so proud of it. And then we'll be releasing some new music, hopefully sometime a little bit later next year. And obviously here, 8:30 every Thursday night. And next week we got Dave Smith. I'm super excited.
Oh yeah, next week we have Dave Smith. Yay! Also, I'm skipping over Ren because he's got nothing.
Content is coming, I promise. I'm gonna have a grip.
He's gonna share his OnlyFans next time.
I was gonna say he's probably got an OF coming, right?
You know, I don't have an OnlyFans, but
banging everybody.
Oh, you guys laugh. There is actually an OnlyFans.
No, then Ren, you can promote. You can promote your.
I got like one video on there. I got.
Does she
listen? Let me have that conversation before I come on here and start promoting other people. So
well, okay, no. Well, look, I'm not gay, but Ren, if you had an OnlyFans, I would consider it.
Oh wow, that is gay.
I had
for the caveat, no homo.
That is the gayest no homo I've ever heard. But continue.
I said no homo. Though,
listen,
right?
we'll follow. I'm in talks to get some content coming. I promise.
Okay, dope. I will be live again in about an hour with some hot takes. You know me, I'm just a fucking hot mess with hot takes. So I'll be doing that in about an hour from now. So come hang out if you want to talk shit with me, and if you want to come in to the conversation, you're more than welcome. Just send me a message. And peace out, guys. GGs. Thanks for hanging. Bye.